All right, so we're going to do a little challenge here. Now, keep in mind, any challenge that I do, it only involves stuff we've already worked with. So I'm very limited with the types of challenges that I can create. Like, I can't have you guys create a function or anything because I haven't gone over functions yet. So some of these might be a little strange, but it's all I could come up with what we've gone over so far. So basically, what I want you guys to do is create a variable called x that is a random number between 1 and 100, along with a variable called y that is a random number between 1 and 50. And then I want you to create a variable for the sum, the difference, the product, the quotient, and the remainder of x and y. All right, and then log the output in a string that shows the two numbers of x and y along with the operator and result. So basically, you should have some variables like this that when you log, it actually shows something like this: 31 plus 15 equals 46, and along with the difference, product, quotient, and remainder. For remainder, you can use the modulus operator. And then as far as hints, the math.random function returns a floating point pseudo random number in the range of 0 to less than 1, so basically a random decimal. And then the math.floor function will round a number down to the nearest integer. So we talked about all that in the last lesson. So go ahead and pause the video and see if you can just do this. Go ahead and create, like I said, x and y, random numbers between these ranges, and then have these variables output these strings with the actual equation. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So first thing I'm going to do is create my variables. Let's say const, and we'll do x equals. And remember, x should be 1 through 100, a random number, and y should be 1 through, I think it's 150 I said. Did I say 50 or 150? I think it was 150. So let's say math.floor, because remember, we want to round this down. If we don't use math.floor, it's going to be a decimal. In fact, let's do without it first just to see. So we'll say math.random, and I'll just log stuff as we go. So we'll say console log x, and we get just a random decimal that's going to be less than 1, basically. And then if we want this to be between 1 and 100, what we could do is multiply it by 100, and that's going to give us, what, 0? That's going to include 0, so we want to do plus 1. If we do that, then it's going to be between 1 and 100, but it's a decimal, so that's why we need to math.floor and round it down. All right, so now we have a number between 1 and 100, and then y, I'm just going to copy this down, y is going to be between 1 and 150, so we'll change this 100 to, let me just check that. Did I say 50 or 150? Oh, I said 50, all right. So we'll change that to 50, and if we log x and y, then we're going to get random numbers. First one's going to be 100, second is to 50. Now we want to create variables that will show whatever x is plus whatever y is equals whatever it equals. We want to do the same for the difference and product and so on. So what I'll do is create a variable called sum, and we want to get the value first. So let's say x plus y, and we can log out here sum. So we get 19, right? So it's just generating random numbers and adding them. Now let's create another variable. I'll call this sum output. And by the way, if you did something completely different, as long as you get the same kind of output, that's absolutely fine. There's so many ways to do this. So I'm going to set that to a template literal. And in here, I'm just going to take x and then say plus. And I'm wrapping these because they're variables, so I'm wrapping them in this money sign curly braces. And then let's say equals, and then whatever the sum is. Okay, and then let's do just a console log, because I want to log them all out. We'll say const output, or console.log sum output, and we can get rid of this. And now you'll see we get 34 plus 12 equals 46, which I think is true. If I reload, 19 plus 28, 37 plus 3. All right, so we got the addition working. Now we're going to do kind of the same thing for the difference. Let's say this will get sum, or get the sum. And what we can do is just copy this whole thing here. And let's say get the difference. And let's do, we'll call this diff, and we'll do subtraction. Let's say this is going to be our diff output, and then this will be minus, this will be diff, and then diff output. Okay, so if I save that, then we get 78 minus 43 equals 35. All right, now let's go ahead and do the product. So let's call this prod. So like I said, you just have to have the same output, not the same numbers obviously because it's random, but the same kind of output. It doesn't matter how you format this, it's still correct. So prod output, let's do that, and then that's going to be the product, and then this will be prod output. There we go. And then we want, what else? The quotient. So we want to do division. Let's say quote QUOT output, and that's going to be division. So slash and quote and quote. Okay, so we get 68 divided. Oh, that's not right. Oh, I have a plus sign here. Make sure that we change that. So 1 divided by 12. So we might get decimals here, but that's fine. All right, now the last one I want to do is the remainder. So let's say get the remainder, and I'm going to use RM for the variable, and then let's change the plus to a modulus operator, which is the percent sign. We'll say RM output, and let's make sure we change that to the percent sign. This is going to be RM, and then we want to log out the RM output, and there we go. So 43 modulo 5 is 3. Good. Now, like I said, I know that this is kind of a weird challenge. So congrats if you got it, but if you didn't really understand it, I understand that because I only had so much to work with, you know. I couldn't have you guys do something that I didn't explain yet. So that's it. In the next 2 videos, the last 2 videos of this section, we're going to look at dates and times because those are something that are really important in most areas of programming, especially in web development where you have different resources like users and blog posts and all that, and you want to have dates, so you sign up dates and post dates, so something that's pretty important. So we're going to look at that in the next video.